Hello. Hi. Hello. Yeah, words. Hi. So it turns out that the transformed wife, Laurie Alexander, doesn't just hate feminism and freedom and fun, but she also hates birth control, which, let's be honest, comes as a surprise to absolutely none of us, right? And the thing is, hating something is fine. People hate things. It's a human thing. There's nothing wrong with that. I hate sweet corn. So, my solution is I just don't eat it. I don't spend my time talking about why sweet corn is so terrible to everyone on the internet and trying to convince everyone else to stop eating sweet corn. I don't try and get sweet corn banned. I don't tell everyone that if you ever eat sweet corn, you're going to suffer for all eternity. No, I just don't eat it. The transformed wife, Laurie, doesn't follow these rules. She hates birth control, and she wants everyone else to hate it too, and she doesn't think anyone should be using it, ever. As her latest video, which is simply titled, "Why I Hate Birth Control!" proves. Let's take a look at it.
Hello, my name is Laurie Alexander, and today I wanted to share with you why I absolutely hate birth control. Before birth control was readily available and people approved of it, most families had 6 to 8 children. That was the average. And women knew their purpose in life before birth control.
Thing is, do you know what else happened before we had birth control? A lot of people died. Women died constantly in childbirth, going for dodgy back alley abortions, trying to perform abortions at home, using weird things that they thought were birth control but were likely to kill them. Hi, Kyra's here. She's not feeling too well today. She's hurt her eye a little bit, so we're going to the vet later, aren't we, baby? That's my girl. We're going to get you better. And the thing is, Laurie's right. There were a lot of families that had a lot of children, ridiculous numbers of children. And for a lot of these families, unless you were very rich, they couldn't afford to look after this many kids. There were 3, 4, 5 kids basically living on top of each other, often in the same room. Hello, come on out, baby. Come on. Good girl. Think back to, say, Victorian England, where you're going to hear piggy noises in the microphone now. They're going on. Think back to Victorian England, where unmarried mothers were shamed and punished and often had to live and work in workhouses. That's no kind of place to raise a child. There are no conditions to raise a child in, and this is what happened before we had birth control. And not only this, but people were genuinely afraid of sex because of the consequences, because there was this risk of getting pregnant. And the thing is, why should a woman miss out on a natural, fun part of life that they might enjoy just because they're scared of becoming pregnant, which is a big, massive, life-changing thing? And if they do become pregnant, they'll either be shamed for it, or they can't afford it, or their body physically can't deal with it. All is said, while birth control wasn't legally or safely or affordably available, this didn't stop people trying to find methods of birth control. There's always been this need to stop pregnancy. The thing is, a lot of these methods that people would use, they weren't sanitary or safe. And the thing is, it put women in a lot of danger, but to them it was worth the risk, because getting pregnant was way worse than anything they suffered from these dodgy birth control methods. Ancient cultures, like the Egyptians, the Romans, the Greeks, even ancient Chinese cultures, a lot of them you'd find women drinking this mix of either liquid mercury or liquid lead or arsenic, or a combination of both to try and prevent pregnancy, and it did stop them getting pregnant. But also, those women would end up with kidney failure, or lung failure, or brain damage. Ancient Egyptian... No, baby, I know, I love you too. I love you too. Ancient Egyptian women would often stuff crocodile dung up their vaginas to stop getting pregnant. Mostly it acted like a plug. Sometimes it would just repel men. Hello. They also thought it had properties that would stop the sperm getting through and stuff like that. It's insane. They were risking infections and God knows what. Ancient Roman and Greek people found this plant called, I'm trying to pronounce this, Silphium? Something like that, which was actually found to work as a contraceptive. They would boil it in water and then soak some fabric in it and then stuff it up there. And apparently, this worked as a contraceptive. And it was so popular, the plant went extinct. Hello. The other thing is that before legal, safe, affordable birth control, women had no possible way of controlling when they got their period or how painful it was or any of the other issues that women often face with periods. Okay, are you okay? Oh, I know. Gonna get down some money from work? Yeah? I love you. I love you. Go on, Papa. There you go. So where were we? Periods. Yeah, I'm gonna overshare with you now, and some of you men might not like this, but I get the worst periods. It's really bad. Like, the pain is so awful, I can barely leave bed, I cry a lot, I often throw up, I get migraines, I get an upset tummy. It messes me up so badly for like at least 2 days out of every month. And I can't do anything, I can't work, I can't go anywhere, I can't see my friends, like nothing. I'm just stuck in bed in pain. It's horrible, absolutely horrible. I often feel like I'm dying, or I'd rather die than be stuck dealing with that. I can barely look after myself or leave the house during that time, and she's making her bed again, aren't you? What did that blanket ever do to you, eh? What did it do to you? And the thing is, I have to deal with this every single month, and it's horrible. And I can't currently be on the pill because I have this really weird, rare side effect where it messes with the other medication I'm on, and I end up with these really horrible other symptoms. I won't go into it too much. Apparently my body hates me, that's the summary. But the thing is, the time when I was on the pill was some of the best months of my life because the cramps were barely there, my periods didn't last as long, I got none of the horrible side effects like the migraines or the throwing up. Birth control has time and time again made my life better in so many ways. It's only when I'm on other medication that it's been a problem. And that's only one kind of birth control, that's only the pill. I'm looking at other options and other methods now that I can use. And considering the coil, it still feels weird to have something yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the point is, birth control doesn't just stop you getting pregnant. It gives you control over your body, your life, your health, your future, your well-being. It's not just a means of stopping pregnancy. It's a way of taking control and being in control of who you are. The thing that Laurie doesn't seem to realize is that there's always been a demand for birth control. Always. Even before it was easily and safely and legally available, and it would be so naive to pretend otherwise. The only difference is that now we have methods that are safe and accessible and that won't kill you and that don't involve stuffing dung up your vagina. Probably going to get demonetized for that one.
All throughout Scripture, children are a blessing, and those who are infertile deeply mourn over it.
So I kind of need to stop her right here because I know she hasn't said it yet, but I don't want her to bring infertility into this because I know what kind of person Laurie is and I know how she likes to talk about stuff and think about stuff, and I'm really, really hoping that she doesn't shame infertile women in any way. I really don't want her to. The thing is, some women are infertile and it's difficult for them and it upsets them. Some women are infertile and they don't care. They're okay with that. They celebrate that. Not all women are the same, obviously. Different women have different reactions to different things. But for the ones who are infertile and don't want to be, the ones who are infertile and find it difficult, I feel the need to almost warn Laurie before she goes any further that she better not even think about shaming any of those women because it is nothing to be ashamed of. Being infertile doesn't make you any less of a woman, doesn't give you any less of a purpose. It doesn't stop you being a good mother if you want to be a mother. Infertile women can still raise a family and be amazing mothers and parents, and adoption is no less legitimate than giving birth yourself, not by any means. And I really don't want Laurie to be spreading the kind of narrative that it is something to be ashamed of or whatever, because it's not. You can still have purpose and meaning and a happy, fulfilling life, even if you're infertile and don't want to be. For the latter bit of what she says here about children being a blessing, that is definitely true for some people, but it's not for everyone, and it's so bizarre to think that everyone has the same values and wants in life and that everyone enjoys the same things. There's nothing wrong with being a person who chooses to have children, nothing at all. And she can sit there and say, well, objectively, children are a blessing, but it's not objective. Not at all. If I fell pregnant right now, I can tell you for a fact that would be the opposite of a blessing. It would screw up everything. Because as much as I'm like pro-choice, and I want women to have access to like safe, legal, easy abortion before a certain stage, obviously. As much as I want that and support that, and I'm vocal in the support of that, I don't know if I could ever actually go through with one myself. Therefore, I've got to take every like precaution I can not to get pregnant, because I never want to have to make that decision. Because if I felt pregnant right now, it would mess up everything. I could not afford to have a kid. It would ruin my life, my career. I'm in a 1-bedroom flat with a dog. That's the air freshener going off again. Like, I'm not in a position to raise a child. I'm on my own, you know. So, yeah, opposite of a blessing. And that's before even, like, considering the whole, like, I never want kids and I think I'd be a pretty rubbish mother kind of thing, you know. I got off point here. I can't remember where I was going. Kids, not always a blessing. There you go.
So before birth control, women knew their purpose in life was to have children. Because if they had sex, often they most likely had children. And they wanted a father for those children. So it was a huge impediment to wait for sex until marriage, because there was nothing to stop them from getting pregnant back then.
So I've listened to this bit over and over, and I don't get what she's trying to say. She's so like rambly and weird, and I'm really confused. For one thing, I don't think Laurie knows what the word impediment means. And secondly, talk about a false equivalency. Seriously. She says, and I like tried to write this down to get it like word for word, the bit where she says women knew their purpose in life was to have children because if they had sex, often they most likely had children. Like I say, false equivalency, that just, no. If I walk out in the middle of the road with my eyes closed, I'll most likely get hit by a car. That doesn't mean my life's purpose is to be hit by a car. Doesn't mean it's good for me. If I sit out in the sun, which is lovely and enjoyable, and it's great, but if I do that without sun cream, I'll most likely get burnt. Does that mean my life should revolve around getting sunburnt and risking skin cancer? Is that my purpose in life? Because if I do this enjoyable thing without protection, the most likely outcome is this. Just because there's a risk of one thing happening as a consequence of another thing, it doesn't mean it's meant to be. It doesn't mean you shouldn't take precautions to stop that thing happening, and it definitely doesn't mean that that's your life's purpose.
And people would get married, and soon after they would have children, maybe a lot of honeymoon babies back then. But now, because of college debt, student college debt, and loan and birth control, couples get married and who knows when they're going to have children. A lot of couples are choosing not to have children, and if they do, they just have one or two because of birth control and college debt.
I know, and isn't it fantastic? Seriously, when you give people control over their bodies, their lives, their choices, it just makes the world a better place. Generally, people are happier and healthier and more productive members of society now. And I know that's a big claim to make, but it's one that I really do believe. I mean, like, all you have to do is look back. This is just one example, right? Look at my family history. So my mum is really into our family history stuff. She has gone back literally, like, over 400 years researching my family, and she knows, like, all the direct line all the way back there, and all these different branches, and, like, brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts and She knows so much about my family's history on both her side and my dad's side, and, yeah. Interesting thing, everyone stayed in Yorkshire. 400 years of my family living in the exact same maybe 5 or 6 little villages within like 10 minutes of each other. Over 400 years. And it's a big family too. My dad is one of 6 children, and that's one of the smaller generations. Go back further, and my direct ancestors were one of like 8, 10, 12 kids, even more sometimes if you count the ones that died. And the thing is, my family never had money. Like, obviously I didn't growing up, but even before then, no one was well off. We've always been working class. They lived and worked on tiny farms, and not the big corporate money-making farms that you think of today. I'm talking like small shacks in the middle of nowhere where they struggled to make money month to month. They worked and often died in mines. There were some nail makers somewhere, I think. There were even people who were just like alcoholics and gamblers and petty criminals who were in and out of prison. That's the kind of family I'm from. And obviously, they had lots of children because there was no birth control. And also, it kind of made sense to have lots of kids to do things like helping out on the farms or in the, like, nail-making forges, you know what I mean? Like, train the kids up early, stuff like that. Laurie seems to have a very idealized picture of big families with lots of children, all living on big open land and, you know, helping each other out and doing this and having fun and this and this. And, you know, you don't need an education because you've got family and, I mean, I guess it sounds nice if you live by Laurie's picture, but in reality, most big families aren't like that. I know from experience that big families with no education means poverty. It means staying in the same place all your life, not because you want to, but because you have to, and you have no other option. For the women in my family in the past, the only option for all of them was to marry someone nearby as soon as they could and have as many kids as they could. And I am so grateful that that is not the only option for me. My parents each left school when they were 15. My dad used to do factory work. My mum still works in the same supermarket that she started working at 15, her first job. So we're talking over 35 years, nearly 40 years, working in the same place, in the same shop, in the same town for minimum wage. Me and my brother and sister are probably the first generation in the entire 400 years of my family to have such a stable amount of income that we're not scraping by month to month, that we can actually save up a bit of money and live comfortably. Me and my brother are definitely the first generation to ever go to university, and I think the first generation to ever move out of Yorkshire, really. I mean, there were a few random people here and there, they were kind of brothers of stuff, but out of the direct ancestors, we are the first generation to move out of Yorkshire. I think all three of us are probably the first generation to kind of travel the world and be able to freely choose our relationships and when we have kids and if we want kids at all. And I can tell you that all three of us are so happy with that. My brother does have kids too with his wife, who is also called Rachel. So for the sake of not confusing you, if I talk about Rachel, I mean my sister-in-law. They'll maybe have another one day, I don't know, it's up to them. But the great thing about having education and birth control available is that because of those two things, they can give the kids they have the best possible life. Those kids don't have to live on some scrappy farm in the middle of nowhere with parents who are barely scraping by. They have a comfortable life, a happy life, a really good life with parents who can provide for them and give them the time and energy and attention that they need. They waited until Rachel had finished all her training and become a GP before she got pregnant, which meant she was earning a good amount of money. It meant that she didn't have to interrupt her education because she'd kind of finished that bit of it and she was working and all this kind of stuff. But it didn't interfere with her career too much. Her pregnancies wouldn't be more stressful than they had to be. And now she's earning a good amount of money, so she can go back to work. And Warren mostly looks after the kids. He's gone part-time now. The point is, because they waited, because they planned it, because they could, and because Rachel got a fantastic education in the career that she wanted, the two of them now can raise the kids well and give them the best possible life. A happy life, a comfortable life, a safe life, just a very, very good life. Having control over what you do with your life as a parent is a positive for everyone involved, including the children. And the thing that Laurie values, families and relationships, they get better too with education and birth control. Because it means you really have time to find the right partner, you really have time to wait to have kids at the best possible time for them and give them the best possible life. Someone like Laurie often preaches about how amazing having kids is and how, just have kids and have as many as you can and this and this and this. And she doesn't seem to value the quality of life that the kids have, only the quantity of kids you have. She'll often talk about how the only thing kids need is a mother's love and a mother to teach them this and this and this and be around them. But that's naive. Kids don't just need a mother's love. If you want your kid to grow up happy and healthy and in a really good place, they need more than just love. And I know this might be a controversial thing to say, but yeah, I think it's true. Kids need stability. They need parents who are happy enough and healthy enough and in a good enough headspace and, enjoying their own lives, and who are educated enough that they have the time and the energy and the ability to give their kids as much time and attention as they deserve. Kids need a safe, clean home. Kids need education. They need nutritious food. They need regular health checkups, and so on. And if you can wait to have kids, if you can plan your life so that you only bring them into the world when you can give them all these things, why wouldn't you? Why would you leave it up to chance and risk bringing them into a world of poverty and struggling and, a dodgy council flat with mold and gangs? Why would you do that if you have a choice to say, no, I'm going to wait until I can provide for them? And I'm not saying that the people who do have kids when they don't have those things are bad parents or whatever. No, of course not. Things happen, accidents happen, and anyone can be a good parent if they want to be and they try and everything. I'm just saying, if you have a choice, why wouldn't you want the best for your kid? And birth control gives you that choice. So to demonize it is bizarre to me.
Birth control and college debt. I think both of those are Satan's way to keep women far away from God's purpose for their life. God wants women in the home, raising their children. What can be more important than raising the next generation?
So again, to appeal to Laurie's values about teaching and raising the next generation, there are way more ways to benefit the next generation of people than just popping out as many babies as you can. I personally think I do have quite a positive influence on the next generation, if we're going to call it that, or at least I try to. I try and be a real positive influence on my niece and nephew. I try and give them toys and books and games that are going to kind of help them grow and kind of encourage their interests and whatever. With my YouTube channel, I try and create content that will help young people and even teenagers try and feel safe and empowered and confident in themselves. I've been asked to speak at some schools and other events and stuff to teenagers to try and talk about this idea of self-empowerment and also women in science and stuff like that. So that's a really exciting thing that I've got coming up over the next year or so. I like to think I have an overall positive effect on raising the next generation. I'm just not doing it by having kids of my own, and that's perfectly okay. Yeah, with that, I think Laurie can shove her self-righteous attitude straight up the devil's bum.
I hate birth control because when I got married, I was on birth control because that's what you were supposed to do. Oh, heaven forbid you had a baby on your honeymoon, got pregnant on your honeymoon. I would have loved getting pregnant on my honeymoon. All I ever wanted to do was be married and have children.
Oh, now this is a very interesting, very revealing point. I have to ask, if Laurie wanted kids so early and so soon, why didn't she? The problem here is not with birth control. The problem, Laurie, is with you. It's not birth control's fault that you were taking it. It's yours. The problem is, Laurie and people like her spend their time doing what they think they're supposed to do. This whole idea of I was on birth control because that's what you're supposed to do. It's bizarre to me. She knew she didn't want to do it, so why did she? I use contraceptives and birth control because I want to, because I don't want to be pregnant. Some people don't use them because they don't like the certain side effects of some of them. They don't want this, they don't want this, they want to have kids, anything. Whether you choose to use birth control or not is completely up to you. And whatever you pick is okay for you. The problem here isn't with birth control. The problem is with young people, like Laurie when she first got married, not feeling in control of their lives and their actions and therefore their bodies. Someone like Laurie has spent so long trying to please everyone else and live by everyone else's rules and doing what she thinks she's supposed to do, she never learned how to figure out what she wants and how to get what she wants. She never even learned to value that, and that's such an important thing in life. I thoroughly believe we need to encourage young people, in fact all people, but especially young people, to stop just doing what they think they're supposed to do. Stop doing what they think is expected of them just because they think it's expected of them. Instead, what we need to be teaching people is that you really need to think about all of your actions, you as an individual. Why are you doing something? What's your motivation? What do you want in life, both right now and in the future? How are your actions going to affect now and the future? What effect are they going to have? What will be the consequences both for you and everyone around you? Stop just going with the flow and blindly following everyone else, and start analyzing your life, your choices, your decisions, your actions. Start making informed decisions. Don't take birth control because someone else said it was good for you, or that you should be on it, or that it's the right time to do this or do this. Start thinking, what do I want? Is this the right option for me? If this is what I want, what are the steps that I have to take to get there?
And I recently heard, yesterday I heard a cousin say that Disney World attendance is way down because millennials are not having children.
Okay, you know what? Forget everything I said. This is awful. I've changed my mind. We can't let this happen to Disney World. Quick! Someone impregnate me. It's for Disney.
If you look at your bodies, women, we have breasts, ovaries, wombs. We have monthly periods that remind us of our purpose in life from the time that we're, 12 to 50 or so. Every single month we're reminded of our purpose in life is to bear and have children.
See, the thing is, we all see things differently. You see your period every month, or maybe you used to get it, I don't know if you still, I don't actually know how old she is. Anyway, you see monthly periods as a reminder of fertility and babies, and this is my purpose, and this is what I want. I see my period every month as a reminder that I have this biological function that I don't even want, that screws me over and stops me doing what I love, stops me just like doing nothing, it stops me sleeping. I can't even sleep because of the pain most of the time. 2 days out of every month, I hate my body, and I hate being a woman, and I would give anything to get rid of my ability to have kids on those days. People see things differently. Where you see that as a reminder of something great, I see it as a reminder and a slap in the face that I have this thing inside me that I don't even want. I have this ability that I would give anything to give up.
And women just want to avoid that. They want to pursue careers. Birth control was a great avenue for them to go far from God's will for their lives. Promiscuous sex, diseases from it, heartbreak.
Hey, Laurie, enough of the assumptions here, alright? This is ridiculous. Yes, I'm a woman who wants a career and I take birth control, but that does not automatically mean I have STDs and sleep around with every man I meet. And I mean, yeah, okay, STDs are bad, I think we can all agree on that. Objectively, there's no upside to them, and we should be careful, and people should be taking precautions to, not catch them. But don't shame people who are promiscuous. Just because it's not what you want, that doesn't mean it's not okay for other people who choose to get pleasure out of consensual sex with other adults. Just because it's not what you like doesn't mean it's bad for all people. Other people can do whatever they want.
And now it's the birth control pills are polluting the waterways, and it's doing so much damage to men and boys, all the estrogen they're getting from the water. They've looked at marine life and seen how it's horribly affected them.
Yeah, no. So for one thing, this only relates to the pill, not all birth control. And still, I actually Googled this because I was like, okay, this is quite interesting. I can actually kind of see why this might have an impact. And it turns out, yeah, the levels of estrogen in water do have some impact on some fish and so on. And there's nothing too definitive yet, especially when it comes to like the feminization of men. Can get that out there. Yeah, there's iffy stuff there. But the interesting thing is, birth control, like the pill, is not the cause. A study all the way back in 2010, there was also talk of it being published in 2011 as well, found that, and I quote, contrary to popular belief, birth control pills account for less than 1% of the estrogens found in the nation's drinking water supplies. That alone is not enough to cause the problem, and even if we eliminate them completely, it would make little to no difference. Laurie is this kind of person who hears these myths and old wives' tales and all this kind of stuff, and she just believes them blindly, because if someone tells her something bad happens after taking birth control and she hates birth control, she'll believe it because she's like, birth control is bad, therefore if someone says something bad about it, it must be true. That's the way Laurie thinks, I think, and it's weird.
Because of birth control, over 60 million babies have been aborted. Over 1 million a year are being aborted.
Okay, now this bit really confused me because I was like, what? You realize birth control prevents pregnancy in the first place, right? It doesn't cause abortions. And if anything, easier and cheaper access to birth control reduces the need for a number of abortions. If you don't like abortion, if you're pro-life and you want to reduce the number of abortions out there, you should be supporting birth control. Thing is, I was like, I don't get why Laurie thinks it causes abortions. And then she says this.
All forms of the birth control pill can cause abortions. A friend of mine was in midwifery school, and a leftist, very liberal, pro-choice professor told her this was a fact. Read the inserts on the birth control pills. No matter what amount of birth control pills that you take, they can all cause abortions. And so this professor told the up-and-coming midwives that they must tell their pro-life customers this, that the birth control absolutely can cause abortions. If people can get pregnant on the birth control pill, it means that an embryo can implant into the womb, and then the birth control pill makes sheds the lining of the womb, which causes an abortion.
I don't even know what to say here. Like, are Laurie and her friends genuinely getting mixed up between, like, a birth control pill, like the combined pill, and the morning after pill, maybe? Because I am genuinely confused. Most birth control pills, like I say, the combination pill is probably like the most common one here in the UK anyway. They work by preventing ovulation. No ovulation, no egg is released to be fertilized. Often, a lot of pills also have other effects, so they'll make like the cervical mucus thicker, which makes it harder for the sperm to kind of swim through it. And another big thing is that they make the uterine lining thinner, which means your periods end up being lighter. But also, if by, like, God knows what chance somehow you did get a fertilized egg in there, it would be near impossible for it to implant. Or at least it would be very, very difficult and very unlikely. I honestly think Laurie needs a little basic sex education, because she's so naive and ill-informed, and oh my god, seriously. She's reading into way too many myths and urban legends and assuming them to be true. And like I say, she's just incredibly naive for a woman her age.
And then we have the women saying, well, I need it for this and that, and you know. Well, there's a lot of, if having another baby is harmful to your health, I think it would be a lot safer to have your tubes tied.
Okay, this bit is insane to me, because do you know how difficult and often expensive and invasive that procedure is? Like, and it's impossible to get it done. Like, especially if you say like a woman my age, they just like, you have to jump through so many hoops and see so many counsellors and this and this and this. Like, it's almost impossible to just get that done in the UK. And if you do want it done, you have to generally get it done privately, and then there's like a whole thing, and it's expensive and it's invasive and it's bizarre. Is that really her alternative to, like, okay, well, if you don't want any more kids, like just get your tubes tied? Oh, hello, baby. It's like saying, okay, you fancy sausages for tea tonight, do you? Yeah, don't just go to a supermarket or a butcher's, none of that. What you should do is go out and kill a pig. Just like slaughter it, cut it up yourself, make your own sausages from scratch. Because why would you do something that is easy and simple and affordable and safe when you can do something difficult and drastic and expensive? Isn't that right, Kyrouac? She agrees. Although she'd probably like just trying to eat the whole pig. Is that it? This one does love her sausages, though. Don't you? I also, like, this is the thing. Laurie seems to only concentrate on the pill and just ignores all other forms of birth control, which kind of suggests to me that maybe she's not that educated. She doesn't know that much about birth control and the options. Did you know, Laurie, there's more than one type of pill? Like, you have options there. And you don't just have to take a pill, there's other things you can use. There's the implant, there's patches, there's spermicide, condoms, the diaphragm. God, there's so many different options. And it's not just like a one-size-fits-all thing. Different women use different things because they have different needs. And Laurie seems to only concentrate on the pill. And I think, again, it's out of naivety and ignorance because she doesn't know anything about the other options. And maybe that's why she hates birth control, because she has such a limited knowledge. You rub it against the mic. I love you. I love you. My God. You're my baby, aren't you? Who would ever want a child when I've got you?
So women, there's there's no reason that we should be on a birth control pill. If it's health problems, get to the root of it. Birth control pills don't heal.
The irony here is that this is literally what I was doing when I was taking the pill. Like, I would get my period and I had debilitating cramps, migraines, vomiting, and upset tummy. So I looked at the cause, and the cause was my periods and hormones. My cramps are bad? Well, a thinner uterine lining will make that a little easier, won't it? Like, all these different things. The pill solved all my problems. I looked at my problems, I looked at the cause, the pill fixed them. And the thing is, if you can take all my problems and give me another suggestion as to how I can fix that, Laurie, I'll happily do it, because I'm looking for another solution. But if you dare say essential oils, I will scream.
They just mask the symptoms and cause a lot of side effects, including infertility.
Yeah, you know what? I'm more than okay with that. Yeah. Anyway, I am going to end this here because bleh. If you'd like to find out a little bit more about different contraceptive options and, you know, what's best for you and all that kind of thing, if it's something that you're interested in and looking at, I'm going to leave some links down in the description below. They should be quite educational. Laurie, if you're watching this, I recommend you go read it because I really think you need it. She's probably not. Although, she did post this on Twitter the other day, and I was a bit like, is she talking about me? So, I'm going to pretend she's talking about me and feel totally acknowledged. Anyway, I'm going to end this here. I got to take this small one to the vet because I'm bad with her eye. I don't know exactly what's wrong with it. She did jump in a bush yesterday, chasing after her ball, and I think she might have got poked in the eye. It's a little bit sore. It's quite like the area that's normally white is quite red and swollen, and it's been like kind of gooey. So we're gonna go take her to the vet and see how she's doing. Poor little schmoogs. I hope she's okay. I worry about her so much. She is my baby. I love her. That's a horrible noise outside, so with that, it's probably a sign I should end the video. Thank you for watching today. Let me know what you think of the transformed wife and her ideas on birth control. Let me know what you think of birth control in general, and yeah. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you so much, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye bye. Huge thank you to everyone supporting me on Patreon this month, with a special thank you going to Data Jack, Trae Sprowles, Gambit and his chauffeur, Liv's Pantyhose Addiction, Mark Dauner, Christian Berg, Nathalie Romer, Simon Lundh, Jadeon Sheppard, Robert Korte, Peter Kyrouac, Sir Michael Moore, Christina the Atheist, Sage Villarreal and Loren Hart. You guys and everyone supporting me on Patreon are absolutely amazing, and I couldn't do this without you, so thank you so much. And remember, if you are supporting me on Patreon, you can get exclusive access to my Discord server where you can come join in the conversation. So hopefully I'll see you guys over there. And thank you all so much.